What's going on, guys? I've got here a 2012 Nissan Versa, and I'm going to use this car to give you some important troubleshooting steps for figuring out the starter. I'm going to show you where you can find the fuses for the starter and talk more about the starter relay. So we're going to begin by looking at the fuses behind this cover here. It's quite simple to remove. There's a little recessed area right here that you can put in a flathead screwdriver or some other prying tool, and then you just lift this out. So this whole piece will pivot outward like so, and then you just pull it to you. You can read about the fuses here on the back, but I'll go ahead and show you two important ones. You can use this included fuse puller right here if you need to, although I prefer to use pliers. Now this Nissan has the traditional turn key to start system. So that needs power from this 10 amp fuse right here. I'm going to pull it out just to show you what a good fuse looks like. As you can see, that fuse is in great shape. And the role of that fuse is to provide power to the ignition whenever the key is in the on position. Now, if your Nissan Versa has push to start, you'll want to check that fuse, but you'll also want to check the fuse next to it, this 10 amp fuse right here. Power from this fuse is used for the push button. So those are the two fuses inside the car. Now let's head under the hood and I'll show you what else we have going on. So over here on the driver's side, you know, the battery's going to be right here. Go ahead and check and make sure that your connections are clean, tight, and free of corrosion. The positive terminal especially is vulnerable to corrosion because there's a lot going on in here. And there's actually a fuse that's built into this positive terminal. This 60 amp fuse is used for the starter on some of the Versas, depending on your level of trim in your year. But while you're here, you'll want to go ahead and inspect all of these fusible links, make sure that they're good. Now, the rest of the fuses are actually inside of this cover. And there's a couple steps to remove it. There's a tab here we push on the left and lift up. Now we pinch these two tabs together and lift up as well. This entire top piece comes off, and sometimes you have to flex this cowl upward and out of the way in order to get this piece fully removed. And again, we can read about some of the fuses here on the back. Now we've got to get this piece up. There's a tab on either side. So you have to push that tab outward, push this tab outward, and while you're doing that, you want to pull up on this. These are the tabs here that you have to move out of the way. So this is an integrated fuse box computer, and there's actually relays built into this that are not serviceable. All of the relays for the starter and the ignition are built into this and not serviceable, unfortunately. But we can check some of these fuses and make sure that they're good. So these two 10 amp fuses are important for providing power to the starter relay. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pull one out. So again, this is what a good fuse looks like. Again, your Nissan may or may not use these fuses depending on your year or level of trim, but you'll want to go ahead and check them. And there's a final fuse for us to check that is in this area. This 40 amp fuse right here, it's built into this fuse box assembly, this little junction thing. This fuse is important for providing power to the ignition switch itself. And power from this is also sent to the starter when you're attempting to start the car. A lot of times when you try to remove this fuse, you'll break the plastic top piece off. That's really not a big deal. If you should need to remove this, it will just come straight out. No tricks to it. So yeah, I hope that this information was helpful for you, or at the very least was a good starting point. One other troubleshooting step I can give you, these cars will not start unless the computer detects that you are in park or in neutral. And so if your car won't start when it's in park, try shifting it into neutral. If you're able to start it in neutral but not park, or vice versa, that may indicate a problem with the neutral safety switch that's located on the transmission. So yeah, I do appreciate you guys watching. Please do chime in below if you have any questions, and also if you have any advice for those of us who are working on Nissan Versas.